What's up? Today's Halloween, and I was a paramedic today. And I've been a paramedic for the last 6 Halloweens. And I'm coming towards the end of my career. I was a brand new paramedic during COVID. I finished paramedic school in November of 2019, and then COVID hit. Like I said, my career is pretty much coming to an end here if things go well for me. I think it's a good point in my life to reflect on this career. I got into EMS because I came from a broken home as a child, lost a mother pretty early on. Dad was disabled. When I was 12, he got in an accident, and was, pretty much like interned into a nursing home, a SNF. So I have a problem going to those places sometimes. Point being, there were a lot of periods, in my childhood where I had to call 911 because, there was no one around. My dad fell from multiple sclerosis and knocked himself out one time. And I had to call the paramedics, and, I didn't have a mom there. She was dead. So the paramedics really come in and they kind of make the room feel a little better. They bring down the temperature. And so I made it my life goal to give back to the scared kid that I was who had to call 911. Like I said, that was my childhood. I obviously wasn't doing well in school. Usually kids like that aren't academic weapons. So I was selected for a youth mentorship program where I ran calls with the firefighters and paramedics for a couple hours a week when I was in middle school. And my career kind of snowballed from there. Like I said, been a paramedic for 6 years. This is probably my final year. I've been teaching since I was a brand new paramedic at a 4-letter university that runs a shit ton of EMT students through. Some of you might even recognize me. Hopefully not. That'd be embarrassing. I'm not really the vlogger type. I never thought that I had anything important to say, but at this point in my career, I feel like I've seen enough that I can turn around and say like, hey, you might be able to learn something from me. You might not. A lot of you are really bad at learning shit. That's not a dig. Just a lot of people don't put in the effort to actually care. Oh, bump the table. Anyways, kind of rambling here. Ideas for where I want this to go. I want to bring on guests. I want people to feel comfortable opening up, talking about some of the calls they've seen. I personally feel like as a paramedic, it's kind of stigmatized. We bear witness to these horrible things. We're in people's homes at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. They're naked, they're bleeding, they're vomiting, they're covered in shit. And, we love them and we care for them just the same, but sometimes it feels like you don't have the liberty to talk about those things out of protection for your patients. So with that being said, I'm probably not going to name any agencies that I work for, probably won't name any hospitals. Probably won't name a whole lot of locations. I will say that I've been a paramedic and EMT on the West Coast, multiple counties up and down the West Coast since I've been running calls since Obama was the president. I've worked in bad neighborhoods, very violent neighborhoods, have some stories from there. I've worked in quiet neighborhoods that also brought me stories. Ideas for like future episodes would be things like my first cardiac arrest. It's an interesting story. I was pretty young. Where Are My Legs is the title of one of my, future episodes. That one GSW at McDonald's, we'll see if my buddy Shane wants to come on and talk about that with me. That was a good call. Didn't end very well for the patient, but was exciting. So point being, you've seen a lot of movies come out. There's a lot of really exciting pages about, I'm a paramedic. Like, let me talk about, paramedicine shit or like the science behind it. And like, that's really cool. And I'm happy to do that too, but I don't want that to be the focus of this page. This is more supposed to be I am a paramedic at the end of my career. Let me talk about what I've seen and speak now or forever hold my peace. I don't think I have a whole lot to add to that. I do have work in the morning. probably rip the Harley Davidson down the highway to work, and tomorrow's my Friday. So I have a trainee. We'll probably see if we can get him to do some ventilator stuff tomorrow. He got to do a couple of pump, runs yesterday where he was, transferring. I think we had a patient who had a carotid artery dissection where it revealed that he had a intimal flap. So there's 3 layers of the vein or vasculature, arteries. There's the tunica adventitia, tunica media, and tunica intima, the intima being the innermost layer. And so he had a small flap dissection of the tunica intima. So with that, he was started on heparin because that small flap can actually cause platelet aggregation. And since it's the carotid artery, if that goes to his brain, then it's just causing him an automatic stroke. So anyways, point being, like, we do complicated, I wouldn't call that complicated, but there's a lot more depth to some of the very basic things that we do. And there's a lot of theory behind it. I don't want this whole page to be about that, but we'll talk about it. And I'll have some guests on and just get to hang out with the medics. And fuck, you can ask me questions. I'll set up a mailbag or some bullshit like that. We'll chat. All right, you guys. I'm going to drink this beer and call it a night. So, see you later.